Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4132. Today's date is July 1st, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 9:38 p.m. All right, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. All right. Okay, so question is, how will you make it daily habit? Okay, that's a really good question. All right. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build a app called My Artifact. What exactly is this application? When you write the diary every single day, you cannot able to be write the diary the way that you wanted to. The reason is that your thought process is actually much more faster than your writing speed. Your writing speed is actually slow is because of you need a pen, you need a paper, you need a convenience, and even after that you cannot able to be match or you cannot able to print your thoughts because it takes so much amount of effort to write the diary. So what if instead of writing a diary, what if we could record a diary, like a audio record a diary? The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my audio diary. I called it My Artifact episode. My Artifact episode number 4132. I am doing this thing for past 11 year. I am doing this thing every single day. Because of writing a diary is a self reflection process, so as recording a diary, so as recording an artifact is a self reflection process. Because of this thing, it add so much amount of value inside of me. The person that I became today and person that I will become tomorrow, it is all because of artifact. The amount of value it add inside of me, I wanted to share this value. How do I supposed to do that? By building an application. My application is somewhat something like a YouTube platform. In a YouTube, you upload your video, other people kind of like a sees your video. Same thing, you upload your artifact in artifact platform, other people kind of like a listen your artifact. Okay. Before I wanted to publish or before I wanted to kind of like a simply build this application, I wanted to aware of all the worst possible consequences. I went to ChatGPT. I said that key like basically I said that key this is my app idea. Suggest me hundreds of worst possible consequences in question. ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me hundreds of question. This is one of those question. Now regarding about this question, the question says that key how will you make it as a daily habit? Now artifact is a daily habit. It's a kind of like a writing a diary. Okay, yeah. The basically is this thing, the stuff that I'm trying to tell you, the amount of value that I get from artifact is not just because of that I just record the artifact. I record artifact every single day. Every single day. This artifact episode number 4132. 4000. Have you ever understand 4000? I am doing this thing for past 11 year. I am doing this thing every single day. So because of this thing now, it adds so much amount of value. Because let me tell you one thing. When it kind of like I don't know how I supposed to explain this thing. When you record the artifact, you feel really good. You feel that key like basically you just kind of like a dump out everything, the thoughts and things and that and that and that. Okay. So basically it's this thing that key like I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. It's a kind of like a somebody the experience, na. Okay, like imagine, okay, that key you like okay, let me kind of like tell you, we are living a life, and when we are kind of like live the life, we have a kind of like a so much amount of stress, so much amount of so many things that we wanted to talk, but because of we are living in such a society where no one is kind of like a here to listen, like literally no one. Okay, yeah, might be your kind of like a parents might gonna listen, but probably is this thing na ki just like that na we are not like basically is this thing I'm telling you from my point of perspective. Okay, so whatever the thoughts that we have, whatever the think that we have, these are the kind of like a thought process we only and only share with such a person who is your significant other. Significant other means you are a kind of like a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? You cannot able your short, like you cannot able to be share your thoughts with kind of like a, somebody your parents, or maybe kind of like a maybe sibling, or maybe your friend. Maybe you could do that. Okay, it's not really that ki you cannot able to do that, but the problem is that na ki basically there is a multiples of consequences will gonna happen. People might gonna judge you or misjudge you or things and that because our thoughts are kind of like a very wrong. And another thing is that na ki when we try to talk, we didn't really get a kind of like a some freedom. People are kind of like a people are kind of like a someone kind of like a give you advice. Okay, so there is no one like a basically it's this thing that na ki like the quality of communication is only happened with your significant other. You can do a quality of communication with other people too, like your parents, your sibling, or maybe your friends and things and that, but the deep kind of like a communication is kind of like a only happen with your significant other. That's it, there's nothing really at all. Now okay, maybe I'm completely wrong in this context. Maybe kind of like a people might gonna say this thing that dude, you are kind of completely wrong. There are so many people, like I have friends, I have kind of like a sibling, I have things and that. So probably is this thing, if you are kind of like a consider that, then you are the kind of like a top tier person, or maybe kind of like 100 out of maybe 1%. Almost like a 90% of the people don't really have that kind of like a like freedom. They don't really have their parents to kind of like a talk, or even if they don't really have their like siblings, they have it. But like basically is this thing now, we are humans. Okay, understand this thing, we are human, and we are love to talk and we are hate to listen. Okay, so basically is this thing that if we are kind of like a wanted to talk, then someone has to be listen. That means someone has to be kind of like a goes through kind of like a, that hate thing that we, yeah. And this is what it is, like a people are love to talk but hate to listen. Okay, have you ever kind of like experienced that thing? Like basically is this thing, if you are kind of like a somebody just listening for a couple of minute of time, fine, okay. But if the one particular person is just kind of like a talking and he doesn't really stop and things and that, so in that situation you are kind of like a like, yeah, like really annoyed and things and that. Your significant other is a kind of like a somebody wanted to understand you, and that's why your significant other is kind of like a listening to you, and that's why you have kind of like a deep communication actually happened with your significant other. Okay, that's why I mentioned only a significant other person would kind of like understand you and kind of like a listen to you and things and that. Other people are not really that much care. They do care, it's not really that they don't really care, they do care, but like basically the life that we are kind of like a living, everyone is kind of like a running for something and probably just, yeah. Okay, and also like this is just an external factor. Internal factor is that most of the people are don't want to talk. Okay, yeah, don't want to talk, they wanted to talk, but they don't want to talk to a kind of like a like their parents or things, or maybe sibling. Why? Because of that, those people thinks that if I open up with people like my parents or my friends or things, then I will be a very vulnerable. Okay, which is also true. Okay, yeah, that if you are kind of like a somebody, just say that let's just say I have a kind of like a friend. Okay, yeah, he is a one of my best friend, and I am kind of like a somebody talking with him and things and that. Now basically talking with him, when you kind of like basically the deep communication is not actually happened with your friend. Like usually is this thing, like when you are kind of like talking with your friend, the communication would gonna happen something that like okay, yeah, it might gonna happen at once. Okay, yeah, once, or maybe kind of like a things. You cannot do this thing every single day, nothing really at all. So like basically is this thing now, there is no human or exists that someone kind of like listen your thoughts every single day. Okay, yeah, maybe kind of like your significant other, but also significant other is also kind of like a get boring by kind of like listening your thoughts and things and that nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that na ki we just want to dump it out. Now, okay, let me tell you one thing. I might be a kind of like a sound so wrong. Okay, like literally it kind of like a sound so wrong because it's a kind of like a things that na ki it's a kind of like a thing that people might gonna think that ki like yeah like okay, like you are kind of like so stupid, right? But try to understand, dude. Okay, I'm talking about the kind of like a some average human, like basically if you're from US, Europe, you might kind of like get a lot of advantage regarding about that ki the people like maybe kind of like a therapy that you have, or maybe kind of like the people who are kind of like listening to you and things and that. I grew up in India. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing, there is a like no one has a kind of like a time and things, and everyone's kind of like a running and things and that. There is a lot of stuff, like obviously is this thing, it's not only that ki we don't really have people so that we cannot able to talk, we have a people, but it's not only that ki we could able to talk with that particular person every single day, nothing really at all. So that's why this application, this thing, that mobile that you have, like you just have to kind of like this application, you just press record and just started talking about things and that and your raw thoughts. Okay, let me tell you one thing regarding about the self reflection. Okay, now basically self reflection means like that ki you kind of like a somebody stand in front of the mirror, you are kind of like a seeing yourself into the mirror, that is called your reflection. Okay, yeah, self reflection, right? But this is a kind of like a physical reflection. The mental reflection is actually happened when you kind of like a talk to yourself. Okay, yeah. And how this actually happened, like how you kind of like a talk to yourself, by writing a diary or kind of like a recording a diary or recording artifact, because this is the way that you are actually communicate with yourself. Because throughout our entire life we are communicate with so many people, but we didn't really talk with such a really important person, and that person is us. Like basically like me, my okay, like basically I, like what I'm trying to tell you, let me kind of like tell you something. Okay, I don't know, I'm kind of like a sound so stupid, but this is what I kind of like a somebody experience. Okay, when the life is kind of like a going through, okay, yeah, you like so many things. Let's just say when I was kind of like a teenager, I was kind of like a started liking so many kind of like a somebody girls and things and that, which is very much obvious by the way, because when you are kind of like a teenagers, you have kind of like these hormones and things and kind of like a whatnot, you are kind of like a started liking and things other people and things and that. Okay, yeah. Have you asked why? You don't really ask this question why you are kind of like this, you just kind of like that particular person and things and that. No. Okay, yeah. Basically I ask this question to myself, why? And when I ask this question to myself, I understand more about myself, what I like, what I don't like. Okay, let me tell you one thing. What is exactly your favorite color? Now some people might gonna say blue, some people might gonna say green, some people might gonna say red, violet, purple, whatever it is. Okay, now whatever the color that you think it is, okay, and you like that particular color. Okay, now basically is this thing, what is exactly that color of you have? Like basically is it, let's just say I like red color. Possibilities, it means that key I have whatever the object that I have, like a t-shirt, jeans, or my bag, or clothes, or maybe kind of like a room color or things, might be associated with the red color, right? Look at around yourself. Does it have any kind of like a red color? Like yeah, like you like kind of like a red color or whatever the color that you like. Let's just say you like the purple color. Okay, yeah. Then look at your room. Look at the every object that you own, or look at everything. Do you have that same color of thing? Some people might gonna say yeah I have, some people might gonna say no. The some people might gonna say yeah I have, you are the kind of like a 5% of the people, and the 95% of the people who don't really have, you are that 95% of the people. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing, if you think that ki I like this color, this is my favorite color, but you don't really have any object of that color, so does it make my favorite color? Like possibly the question is that ki basically like blue is my favorite color, so maybe my t-shirt and everything are kind of like a, mostly most of the objects are kind of like a, like not like a, but at least like a, so many objects are should supposed to be in blue color, like because I like the blue color, but it didn't. Okay, so basically is this thing, what is exactly your favorite color? Like you don't know your favorite color, you like the blue color but you don't really have any kind of like some objects. But dude, your kind of like assumption would be completely wrong, right? Like you like basically I might be a completely wrong, that maybe kind of like a things that key, like the favorite color and having a kind of like some objects with that particular color, it doesn't really make sense at all, right? Well, let me kind of like tell you something. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say what color do I like. Okay, yeah, if I'm gonna say blue color, okay, yeah, now ask this question, why you like the blue color? Okay, or whatever the color that you like, why you like the purple color, why you like the yellow color, why you like the things and that and that. Okay, yeah, now I'm gonna tell you from my point of perspective. Okay, yeah, what color do I like? Basically, i I like the color depending upon the mood, depending upon the situation, and depending upon the kind of like a whatever that I have. Example, a blue color looks really beautiful when there is a kind of like a blue sky, but not every time blue color sounds so look good. It kind of like a look good when the in the rainy scene. Like basically what exactly happened when the monsoon came in India. Monsoon means rain. Now after the rain in the afternoon, okay, let's just say in the afternoon rain is actually happened, the rain is actually pour, and then after that sun is actually shine. And when the sun is actually shine, the cloud kind of like the entire kind of like a sky looks blue. And because of kind of like a things, because of the like there is no kind of like a black clouds, those are all are gone because of the rain is actually happened. So everything is kind of like a bit really contrast. So in that period of time I like the blue sky. So does it means I like blue color? No. At that time I like blue sky because it looks so beautiful, really great. Okay, yeah. Now let's talk about the kind of like a red color. I do like red color too. I love to wear a kind of like a somewhat something, a kind of like a red color t-shirt. Why? Because I don't know, sometimes I like the red color, possibly, but sometimes I don't. Example, let's just say when I went to kind of like a blood donation camp, okay, yeah, and kind of like a, that doctor is kind of like a taking blood out of from me, okay, yeah, and when I see my blood on that kind of like a plastic bag, I don't like that red color, but I like the red color of t-shirt. Okay, yeah. Like this is kind of like a very weird. Like the color is same, but contexts are different, and the kind of like things are became like a very wrong. Like this is kind of like a things. I like the red color t-shirt, but I don't like the red color blood. Like, have you ever kind of like a feel that thing? Okay, yeah. Now let's take another. I like the green color too. Okay, yeah. Same thing goes with the monsoon. Like basically, I like the monsoon is because of that. Ki most of my colors are kind of like in the monsoon. So basically, in the afternoon, rain actually happened. The sky looks really beautiful, and the entire kind of like trees are kind of like a washed out, and they are kind of like look so beautiful green. Okay, yeah, like really beautiful green. It's kind of like a feel like that someone kind of like a saturate the color. It kind of like a feel like a really beautiful. I like the sky as well as I like the green too. At that time I like the green too. Okay, but when my kind of like a mother make me a soup regarding about a kind of like a spinach soup or whatever the kind of like a green color soup, I don't like it that color. Why? The color is same, but why I don't like it? It's kind of like a very weird. Okay, yeah, like I like the color at some certain situation, but I don't like the same color at different situation. I don't like it. Okay, let's take another thing. Okay, yeah. Now rainbow. Okay, like basically rainbow is kind of like a much more beautiful. If you've seen the rainbow, yeah, it looks really beautiful. But the problem is that ki when you see the rainbow in your naked eyes, you barely even see the rainbow. Like you might gonna see the kind of like a colorful pattern, but yeah, it just like doesn't really make sense at all. Okay, yeah, like yeah, I see the rainbow. Yeah, I'm kind of like a seeing it, kind of like a look really good, but yeah, okay, but it doesn't really give you that amount of kind of like a feel really good. It just yeah, like okay, I have a kind of like a but same rainbow that you kind of like a somebody kind of like a someone take a photo, and when you see that photo, in that photo it looks really beautiful. How is that actually happen? Okay, if you're not really understanding, these are also kind of like a you experience. Okay, you have your camera, you have your mobile phone, open the camera. Okay, and take someone else photo. Like take your mother photo or father photo, whatever. Like basically who is actually in front of you, take a photo. Okay, now basically look at the photo of your father and look at your father. Who is actually much more prettier? The real father or photo father? You might think the photo father is kind of like really beautiful. Why? Like basically is this thing, like basically this is the exact replica. Like basically the real thing should supposed to be like you more, but why does kind of like somebody the inside the screen kind of like look really beautiful? Like I already knew the kind of like a answer that the screen is kind of like have a lot of color calibration and things, and photos actually a lot of processing and things and that. But still, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that the same thing that we is a kind of like a very much confused, right? Let's take a kind of like a something specific color, purple. Okay, okay. If you not really understand the purple color is like the have you seen vanga, bagan, brinjal? Yeah, in the English it called brinjal. Have you seen brinjal? Okay, yeah. So brinjal has a kind of like a very dark purple, just kind of like a little bit fade, little bit add a white shade. It called little bit of purple. Okay, yeah. So that is called purple. Okay, yeah. So do you like purple color? Now, if you think that yeah, I like the purple color. Okay, yeah. Tell me what exactly things that you like about that color and where you seen that color, purple color. Probably I seen the purple color jacket, or maybe kind of like a purple color things, or that and that and that. Okay, like I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing now. This is I understand by myself. Okay, yeah. I don't have a kind of like a specific color that I like. Sometimes I like white too. Sometimes I like red too. Sometimes I like red and sometimes I like blue too. Sometimes I like green too. I am very much confused that what color do I like? And also the same color that I like in different situation, I don't like it. So what exactly is this thing? Okay, yeah. Have you ever kind of like experienced this thing inside of you? Okay, this kind of like a difference kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. This is called kind of like a self-reflection. I am arrived at this point where I recorded almost like a thousands of artifacts, and because of this thing, I am connecting with myself. I understand myself, and I kind of like asking question to myself. There is no one is actually here. I'm talking to the phone and kind of like talking about all those shits and things and that, and because of that, it kind of like make me feel really good. I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. It does kind of like make me feel really good, because when I'm record the artifact, I am feel really good, and it does feel really good to you too. It does really feel really good too. Okay, so so basically is this thing. Okay, that key. Okay, yeah, like this is kind of like a things. Okay, this is kind of like a self-reflection process. There are so many things. Like let me tell you one thing. In the artifact, I talk to myself thousands of questions. I ask so many questions to myself, and I understand so many things just talking to myself. I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. Explain this scenario. I am seeing the world from very different context point of perspective. Today, what is actually happened? I went with my mother to market, sabzi market. Okay, sabzi market means like that you kind of like buy the vegetable market. Okay, yeah. I'm belong to the India. Okay, and Wardha is my local city. Okay, Wardha is a local city by the way. So I went with my mother. Okay, and now mother is kind of like buying something. I was kind of like holding the thela. I was holding the bag. Now basically is this thing I am seeing there is a kind of like a lot of narrow road. People are kind of like a walking. There is a kind of like a lot of free space actually available beside the stall, but people are using the narrow road. Why does they do that? Okay, yeah. Another thing is that na ki in the tea stall, so many people are kind of like standing in front of the tea stall. Why they are standing? They are not kind of like taking any teas, nothing really at all. They just kind of like standing there. Why? Because other people are also standing there too. Yeah, doesn't really make sense at all. Yeah, sometimes now I don't know how would I supposed to explain this thing. Okay, that key people acted very weirdly. In some certain situation they are, some certain situation they are not. Example, couple of year ago my sister, my cousin sister got married. Oh yeah. Now in Indian context point of perspective, usually is this thing, the woman get married, woman should supposed to be kind of like a uh, go to the kind of like a the groom's home. Okay, yeah, like we called it as a sasri jata hai, like a like basically going to the maike, like so not maike, like a mulgi sasri jate. Okay, yeah. So Sasri Jati means what? Like basically she's going to the groom's place, okay, groom's house, and kind of like she's leaving her parents and things and that and that. We called it Vidai. Okay, yeah, like a Vidai. Okay. It's a kind of like Indian wedding context thing. If you don't know this thing, if you are from US and Europe, just do the kind of like some research about the YouTube or Google regarding about what is actually Vidai and things and that you might gonna understand. Okay, yeah. So basically, what exactly is this thing? In that situation, okay, yeah, the my cousin sister should supposed to be cry, okay, because she is a kind of like a living her kind of like a simply the homes and things, and she's kind of like a started new life with another boy with another house and things and that and that. But she didn't really cry. Why? Like she didn't doesn't really feel like that cry. And by the way, my cousin sister actually cry a lot, like literally cry a lot. But in the Bidai, she didn't really cry that much. Have you ever kind of like experienced this thing? Okay, if you are kind of like a only woman who kind of like does kind of like experience like a, it's kind of like a pressure that people kind of like a putting, but emotionally I was not even crying. So like this is kind of like my cousin sister kind of like say I was not even kind of like a feel nothing really at all. So yeah, and like I don't know how does there are so many kind of like unanswered question that I have just like I don't know. I'm kind of like seeing the world from a different context point of perspective. Okay, yeah. Like another thing. Okay. Basically is this thing that key I have kind of like only so many kind of like example. If I'm kind of like say this thing and that, but like basically just like that na ki it's just not just the artifact, like basically whatever, like basically I'm kind of like a doing this self reflection process by artifact, but also like since like a basically there is a like beginning of this year there is a kind of like a lot of transformation actually happened inside of me. Is because of that I was kind of like started reading a book, and because of book I'm kind of like looking at the world very different context point of perspective. Right now I am kind of like reading a book. The Principia of Mathematica was kind of like written by Isaac Newton. 800 pages of book. Obviously it's kind of like a very difficult to read the book. But when I started reading the book, obviously I'm kind of like reading a book by ChatGPT. I take a photo, ChatGPT kind of like explain me everything in simple language. I read that context. Okay, yeah. So I'm kind of like reading this like that, because if I started reading kind of like a normal way, I am not understand anything at all, because I am not really kind of like a good at geometry or maths, nothing really at all. But ChatGPT kind of like explain me very simple language. Okay, yeah. So from that context, I understand some couple of things. Newton is kind of like a so much smarter, so much better. Like a basically, I don't know. Like if I started talking about this book, I was kind of like not stopping talking about this book. It just kind of like a so many stuff. So whatever the kind of like a stuff that I'm saying, you have already all artifact is actually uploaded on YouTube platform. I talk about so many things, and I never really kind of like somebody recorded this artifact just because of that. I will gonna upload my artifact, or maybe I will kind of like someday I will kind of like build my application. Nothing really at all. I was a kind of like a I was not lazy, but I was not really that much kind of like somebody very focused person. But I still continue artifact for 11 year every single day. What is exactly reason? Okay, yeah, like something that I'm getting right. That's why I'm kind of like doing this thing for past 11 year. Like why the fuck am I kind of like doing this thing every single day if I'm not getting anything at all? I have to be going to kind of like a go to bathroom. I have to go to the number two. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of like holding for a while. Okay. Long story short, I will not gonna talk about this thing much more. Okay, I will gonna end here quickly. Okay, like I wanted to talk about this thing. Like let's just pause. Okay, let's just pause and I will gonna talk later. Okay, yeah. Let me pause. I will go to the number two and kind of like do my number two. Okay, I'm gonna pause here.